In this video, we're going to find out, is Bitcoin going to lose its support round about the $24,000 level and come all the way back down to the psychological level of $20,000, or is Bitcoin finally going to get this bounce and break this major resistance round about the $25,250, where we also see this 200 moving average on the weekly chart. And if we're going to break this level, Bitcoin could reach the $30,000 level. But guys, we're going to look at all of these factors because yes, we could expect some major volatility during today because we're going to get the release from the FOMC minutes from the previous FOMC meetings. But guys, I'm going to show you proof that yes, Bitcoin has disconnected from the macroeconomic factors, and the proof will really blow your mind because it comes from the Federal Reserve itself. So if you want to find out more, watch the video until the end, smash up the like button and subscribe, and most importantly, activate the bell so that you always stay up to date. Welcome back to B for Crypto, and I hope you all are doing great. Guys, we can see that the price of Bitcoin broke this very important $24,000 support, and at the moment we can see that Bitcoin is dumping towards the downside. Yes guys, maybe we're going to come all the way back down to this horizontal support round about the level of $22,500, because yes guys, we could expect a major volatility because we're going to get the release from the FOMC minutes, and we're going to find out after the technical analysis what we could expect. But first of all, we can see that on the daily chart, yes, the 13 EMA is round about the level of 23,372. So we could expect, yes, maybe a small bounce in these regions. But guys, even if we come all the way back down to this horizontal support, yes, Bitcoin would still be forming higher lows, and that is quite bullish. But guys, let's go on the even lower time frames on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin to find out what is going to happen in the immediate short term. And yes, we could see that Bitcoin broke the 50 moving average on the 4-hour chart, and that is not good guys. This means that we're going to dump all the way back down. And yes, we could also see that yes, Bitcoin is forming this M, and most probably we're going to reach our price target if we're going to take it from the top all the way to the bottom of this M. And then we can see yes, if we're going to see this break exactly here, which Bitcoin already broke this neckline of this M formation, we could reach the price target of $22,570. And yes guys, this means we're going to see this dump from the FOMC minutes, and maybe we're going to see a bounce at the 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart, but we could expect that Bitcoin should come all the way back down to this horizontal support. But guys, let's go over to the news and find out what we could expect from this minutes. But guys, before we're going to go over to the news, I want to remind you, if you're interested in crypto clothing, go over to Crypto Clothing and check out the awesome crypto clothing. And guys, make sure to follow them over on Instagram. And yes guys, here we can see the FOMC minute preview data dependency is a disaster in the making. So guys, are we going to see a hawkish behavior from the Fed because the FOMC data dependent, thus the meeting minutes are not expected to reflect the January research? So guys, we could expect, however, the Fed will likely have to turn more hawkish going forward. Are we maybe going to see in future even a higher rate hike than the 50 basis points? We have to disconnect Bitcoin from the macroeconomic factors. And yes guys, I found some data from the Federal Reserve itself, and we're going to look at this data, and this also shows us Bitcoin is the new monetary system, and the Federal Reserve is just trying to manipulate Bitcoin down with this hawkish behavior, because guys, it's clear for all the central banks and the governments that Bitcoin is here to stay, and it's a fair, deflationary and honest monetary system. This will blow your mind. Over on the side of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, I found this data, the Bitcoin macro disconnect. This paper investigates the link between Bitcoin and macroeconomic fundamentals by estimating the impact of macroeconomic news, such as inflation or even the interest rates, on Bitcoin using an event study with intraday data. The key results is that unlike other US asset classes, Bitcoin is orthogonal, and this means disconnected from the monetary and macroeconomic news. And yes, in the data from the Federal Reserve Bank, we can read the conclusion. Is macroeconomic news driving Bitcoin? In this paper, we conducted a systematic analysis of the impact of macroeconomic and monetary policy news on Bitcoin's price. We modeled Bitcoin as an asset with no intrinsic value. I mean guys, what is the difference between money, the US dollar, What is the intrinsic value behind the US dollars? Yes, you can pay someone with the US dollars and receive a payment. And the same thing you can do with Bitcoin. So this is totally BS. But let's go on. We model Bitcoin as an asset with no intrinsic value, for which its current price depends on the disconnected value. And yes, the US dollar is dependent on inflation, interest rate hikes, or a decision from one man. In our empirical analysis, we find that Bitcoin is unresponsive to both monetary and macroeconomic news. And yes, guys, maybe we are seeing some volatility during these news events, but Bitcoin is disconnecting from the traditional financial market. In particular, the result that Bitcoin does not react to monetary news is puzzling, as it casts some doubt on the role of discount rates in the pricing of Bitcoin. Given the short sample used in the analysis, however, more evidence is needed to assess the disconnect between Bitcoin and macroeconomic fundamental values. And guys, they know that it's true, and they know that Bitcoin is here to stay. And that's why the governments and also the central banks are trying to manipulate the price of Bitcoin. But guys, you can only manipulate something to a certain degree, and Bitcoin will take over, and we are so close to the bottom. Yes, maybe we're going to see a small dump to the 20,000 US dollar level, and maybe even if we're going to create a new low for Bitcoin, guys, if you dollar cost average into Bitcoin, Bitcoin is going to change your life. And not only your life, Bitcoin is going to change the whole world. And guys, we're going to go over to the next data, because yes, we can see that Bitcoin outperformed since 2020 all other assets out there. Compared to S&P 500, Nasdaq, gold, bonds, silver, we can see that Bitcoin is up 107% compared to all these other assets. So guys, if you would have dollar cost average into Bitcoin 3 years ago, you would still be up 100%, even though we saw this massive dump from FTX and the interest rates and the inflation. Bitcoin is deflationary, and you should dollar cost average into Bitcoin. If you want a dollar cost average in all of these crypto assets, make sure to follow my link in the video description below and sign up to BITGET, where you receive a massive deposit bonus. And guys, make sure to be in my free Telegram group. But let's look at this monthly chart of Bitcoin. And yes, guys, we can see that the stochastic RSI and also the RSI, the relative strength index, is at oversold territory. And we can see that the RSI and the stochastic RSI crosses the moving average. And this gives us a buy signal, guys, because we can see in the previous cycles, each time we got this cross and this break of this horizontal line, we broke towards the upside and we saw a massive pump for Bitcoin. That's why it's so important to dollar cost average into Bitcoin, because yes, guys, maybe we're going to see a small retracement, but maybe we're going to push all the way up to the 30 or even 40,000 US dollar level and then come a little bit down and maybe even a black swan event. But guys, that's why dollar cost average into Bitcoin, because yes, Bitcoin is going to be the money. And guys, if you want to support my channel and like my content, smash up the like button and subscribe. Make sure to activate the bell so that you always stay up to date and be for crypto. And if you want to earn passive income, make sure to watch this video exactly now.